The story of Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe begins in Captain America: Civil War, when former allies Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, and Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, come at odds. They're forced to recruit allies to join them in battle. And that's when Tony learns of Peter Parker, a high school student and tech whiz who has been bitten by a radioactive spider, granting him superpowers. Peter idolizes Tony and gladly joins him in the fight against Captain America. In the end, Tony and Steve set aside their differences to unite once again, while Peter is gifted state-of-the-art Stark Industries designed Spider-Man equipment to aid in his solo adventures. In Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter Parker is still on a high from his experience with the Avengers. At home, Peter lives with his doting Aunt May, while at school, he and his best friend Ned are subjected to the ridicule of school bully Flash Thompson. Tony, recognizing Peter is still just a kid, insists that he should focus on high school and leave the superheroics to the adults. This superhero teenager balance is one Peter constantly struggles with as he disobeys Tony to continue crime fighting. Eventually, this puts him at odds with Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture. Vulture and his gang used Chitauri technology from the Battle of New York in the original Avengers film to build super weapons to sell to shady buyers. In Peter's mission, he manages to take down members of Vulture's team, including the Shocker and the Tinkerer, and one of their villainous weapons buyers, Mac Gargan, aka the Scorpion. Along the way, Peter also encounters Aaron Davis, a well-intentioned man trying to buy weapons to ensure they stay out of the hands of criminals, which could put his young nephew Miles Morales in danger. As Peter continues to try to take down Adrian, Tony Stark eventually steps in and takes back his Spider-Man suit in an effort to protect Peter from his reckless actions. And so Peter goes back to his normal high school life and asks his crush Liz to the homecoming dance. On the way there, Peter is shocked to discover that Liz's father is none other than Adrian Toomes. Peter and Adrian quickly deduce each other's alter egos, and despite Adrian's threats and Tony's multiple prior warnings, Peter continues his efforts to thwart the Vulture. This all culminates in a battle near Coney Island between Vulture and Peter wearing a makeshift Spider-Man suit. Peter ultimately defeats Adrian and spares his life, resulting in Adrian's arrest and his family moving away in shame. And in a post-credits scene, a vengeful Mac Gargan confronts Adrian Toomes, demanding to know Spider-Man's secret identity, though Adrian refuses to tell him. Peter's story continues in Avengers: Infinity War, where he accompanies Tony Stark and members of the Avengers into space in an attempt to defeat the villainous threat Thanos. Unfortunately, Thanos defeats the Avengers and uses his newly collected Infinity Stones to kill off half of the entire universe's population, including Peter Parker, with the snap of a finger. Fortunately, in Avengers Endgame, the surviving Avengers, including the powerfully strong and incredibly intelligent Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, successfully reverse the snap, bringing back all of their lost friends to engage in a final battle to defeat Thanos. In the end, Tony Stark chooses to sacrifice his own life to defeat Thanos and save the world, leaving Peter devastated by the loss of his mentor. In Spider-Man: Far From Home, Peter is still mourning the death of Tony Stark while also dealing with normal high school problems. He's developed a crush on his friend MJ. His best friend Ned is preoccupied with his new girlfriend Betty. He's still being bullied by Flash Thompson, and his Aunt May has entered into a new relationship with Tony Stark's best friend Happy. On a class trip to Italy, Peter and his classmates are attacked by a powerful and mysterious water elemental, which is defeated by Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio. Mysterio explains that he's a superhero from an alternate reality in the multiverse whose family was killed by elementals and is now in Peter's reality to save it from a similar fate. Mysterio is being assisted by S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, who gives Peter the late Tony Stark's glasses, which allows him to control the artificial intelligence Edith and command an orbital weapon supply. Peter, longing for a normal life, turns down the offer to join Mysterio, gives him Stark's glasses, and returns to his classmates. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to Peter, Quentin Beck is actually just a vengeful ex-Stark Industries employee working with a team of others who have been similarly spurned by Tony Stark. They use advanced holographic technology and projectors to create the illusion of the Elementals and Mysterio's powers to trick the world into believing that Quentin Beck is an Avengers-level superhero from another dimension. And now they have full control of Stark's powerful array of orbital weapons. Meanwhile, MJ discovers that her friend Peter is actually Spider-Man, and together they uncover the truth about Quentin Beck. When Peter confronts Beck, the imposter refuses to back down, and instead plots to kill Peter and his friends to prevent his secret from being exposed. And so, Spider-Man is forced to fight Mysterio, which results in Beck accidentally being shot and killed by one of the Stark drones. In the end, Peter returns home with his classmates and finally begins a relationship with MJ. Unfortunately, as Peter swings MJ through the city on their first date, the pair are interrupted by a news report from J. Jonah Jameson, who broadcasts footage that the late Beck had doctored to make it appear that Mysterio was in fact an innocent hero who the villainous Spider-Man had intentionally murdered. And to make matters worse, the late Beck ends his message by revealing to the entire world that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The story continues in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Peter Parker is arrested for the murder of Quentin Beck alongside MJ, Ned, and Aunt May as his supposed accomplices. Fortunately, the lawyer Matt Murdock, who moonlights as the vigilante hero Daredevil, manages to get all of their charges dropped. Despite this, the public has turned their back on Spider-Man, leading to Peter, MJ, and Ned all having their college applications denied. Desperate for his life to return to normal, Peter seeks out the help of sorcerer and avenger Dr. Strange. As Strange casts a spell to make the world forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Peter interrupts to request that his loved ones retain their memories. This accidentally corrupts the spell, resulting in villains from other universes who know Spider-Man's identity, including Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Sandman, the Lizard, and Electro, to be summoned into this world. While Dr. Strange works to contain the corrupted spell, Peter discovers that all of the villains were transported to his world moments before their deaths in their original world, and so he becomes determined to cure and reform them all to save them from their fates. As the villains agree to help Peter and Strange to reverse the spell and return to their homes, Norman Osborn becomes compelled by his villainous Green Goblin persona to fight back. Poisoning the other villains against Peter, the gang all band together to escape their fates. Amidst this betrayal, Osborn kills Aunt May, devastating Peter and leading him to believe that the villains are not worth saving. While trying to find and help Peter, MJ and Ned use a magical sling ring stolen from Dr. Strange to try to teleport to their friend. Instead, they accidentally summon two separate alternate versions of Peter Parker, dubbed Peter 2 and Peter 3. Peter 2 recounts his grief and anger following the death of his Uncle Ben, while Peter 3 recounts his sorrow following his inability to save his girlfriend Gwen Stacy, helping Peter to let go of his anger and honor his Aunt May. In a final battle, Dr. Strange, MJ, Ned, and the three Spider-Men band together in the hopes of curing the villains and sending them home safely to their original worlds. Amidst the chaos, Osborn unleashes the corrupted spell once again, threatening to break down the barrier between all of the universes. The heroes manage to successfully cure all of the villains except for Osborn, while Peter 3 manages to save MJ from falling to her death, allowing him to finally move past his trauma from failing to save his lover Gwen. As Strange struggles to prevent the multiverse from collapsing, Peter 2 and 3 help Peter overcome his anger to spare Osborn's life and inject him with the cure for his Green Goblin villainy. In the end, Peter realizes that the only way to save the multiverse is to have Strange erase him from everyone's memories. And so, as Strange casts the spell to save the multiverse and return everyone to their proper worlds, Peter bids an emotional goodbye to MJ and Ned, who then forget he ever existed. As MJ and Ned head off to college, the lonely Peter becomes inspired to honor his Aunt May, crafting a new suit to continue his adventures as the heroic Spider-Man. And that's everything you need to know about Spider-Man's story in the MCU so far before watching Brand New Day.